RFNS-9. We have one of these in the reference collection. And yesterday on the podcast, we were discussing an issue that came up, I guess, with a Baltimore or a Maryland police department. I don't know if it's Baltimore, a sheriff or whatever, but they apparently had a problem with their guns supposedly firing maybe out of battery, or you could induce the gun to fire. The way they described it was you take the gun out of battery, just a little bit, pull the trigger, and then when the gun comes back into battery, the way they described it was that the gun would discharge, the striker would drop. Well, that's not happening here. I can't get that to use this. Try a little bit. I can't get that to replicate. So these are neat guns. I've always liked them. They have a few shortcomings. The FNS-9, the 509 is a follow-on to this. It's a product improved version of this gun. Actually, I think it's probably pretty compelling. What's really nice about these guns is they're a full service gun capacity magazine, so 17+1, which is pretty nice. Full-size grip for those of us with larger hands. It basically has a functioning mag well molded into the grip. So I mean, it's a really interesting gun on the reload, especially for the factory. So full-size grip, Glock 19 size slide, attention G45 and Glock 19X owners. FNS did that a decade ago. So the downsides of this gun there are a couple of them. The first one is the magazine release is so large that it's an ambi, it's a cross bolt safety, so it's easy to push from both sides. And when I carried this gun, I typically would find that the exterior button might get depressed, and I would find my gun basically sitting with the magazine half cockeyed out of it. Or I've even seen people who are trying to use flashlights, and they would actually end up bumping the gun and dropping the magazine, by accident, so sympathetically. So a solution, I believe, to that would be to radius these buttons to be smaller, or maybe they make a smaller button. I know on the FN-509, they have recessed these magazine buttons to be much deeper in the slide, or much deeper in the frame, to make it a little bit harder to accidentally hit that magazine release. Now, actually, myself, my finger on a full-size grip, my middle finger is resting on half of that button. Under recoil, every once in a while, I can activate that sympathetically and drop the mag. So that kind of sucks, but I think that's addressed on the new gun. Also, these guns, what can happen, and I believe they fixed that as well. I haven't checked it on the 509s, but they definitely addressed it on the later FNS guns, is you can actually lock the action of these guns up. So the most common way that this happens, so let's say you're a USPSA or IDPA type shooter. Maybe mostly USPSA, but this can happen anywhere. So you shoot your string, bang, 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 unload, show clear, drop the slide, they'll discharge, they'll drop the striker down range, then holster the gun. Now, what can happen is when I've seen it happen in competition, and I've seen it happen in training, is the trigger is held to the rear, and if you're pulling the gun up fast enough, I have seen where this trigger has gone forward from inertia and locked the gun up. That's the most common thing you'll see maybe in competition guns. I have also seen people, if they get a dead gun and the slide is forward, like maybe they're manipulating the gun and the slide drops by accident. I have seen people actually tap the, you know what? I think I just did it. I've seen them tap, rack, and lock the gun. And I literally just did it. You saw me do it. So I've seen them go tap, lock the gun. I just locked it. So imagine you're tap, rack, and you've been trained your whole life to not pull that trigger, and this gun's locked up. So that was the second issue that was a real big strike on these FNS-9 guns. So when I heard about the third issue, supposedly with this Baltimore Police Department, I'm like, man, I did not realize you could drop the striker maybe out of battery. But I gotta tell you, I can't replicate it. Maybe I don't know how to do it, or maybe I misread or I'm misunderstanding how that situation occurs, or possibly because this is an early FNS-9 that even has a thumb safety, which, if I had the choice, I would not have gotten it with a thumb safety, but that's the way that, it was foisted upon me. Maybe the presence of a thumb safety addresses that or mitigates that a little bit. So if you have an FNS, well, specifically for the law enforcement gun that is in Baltimore or in Maryland, it's apparently an FNS-40 long slide. If you have an FNS-40 long slide and you're able to demonstrate this drop of the striker out of battery, if you could please swing by and show me how to do that, that would be most appreciated. Again, I don't touch this gun that often, but every time I touch the FNS guns, I'm really reminded about how much I like these guns and just how good they feel. And how, it's fully ambi gun, which 10 years ago was leading the pack on a striker gun. Now the Glock is coming out with it. They've addressed the mag release. Personally, having an ambi mag release, an ambidextrous mag release that actually works at all times, it's the H&K or the Walther lever system is superior, because you don't get situations where squeezing grip pressure, outside pressure on the gun activates the magazine. So I think personally that's I think that's where H&K wins. But I hear the FNS-9, they've addressed that. They've made the slide stop a little bit larger, which I think could be really interesting. And I don't know, I actually might pick up a 509 and give it a chance, because I don't think there's a striker gun on the timer shooting plates I ever shot better than this gun. So kind of a blast from the past to bring it out and just see how it's so. Neat gun. Anyway, remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good day.